I want you to imagine, for a second, the single largest, most complex digital project in history. A project where every single device, every application, every system your organization relies on has to be found, checked, and then totally overhauled or even replaced. Yeah, no exceptions. We're talking about the migration to post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. And here's the kicker. If you haven't started planning for it, you're already behind schedule. To really get why, we need to start with a terrifyingly simple question.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. What if the very foundation of our digital world, the encryption that protects literally everything from our bank accounts to national security secrets, what if all of that could just shatter? This isn't science fiction anymore. This is the reality we are now scrambling to prepare for. So, the first thing we really have to get our heads around is the urgency. This isn't some problem for the distant future that we can kick down the road. The deadlines are real, they are coming up way faster than you think, and the consequences for missing them, well, they're enormous. Okay, so take a look at this timeline. You can see we're in the planning phase right now in 2026. But look at how fast things start to ramp up. That first major milestone, 2030, isn't just some arbitrary EU deadline for high-risk systems. It's also the year many experts believe Q-Day, the day a quantum computer can actually break our current encryption, could realistically happen. Even the US government's initial deadline is just over a decade away.
And that 2030 deadline, it feels far off, but it's really not. In the world of big enterprise IT, where major projects are planned years and years in advance, less than 5 years is nothing. It's basically tomorrow.
So, given how urgent this is, you'd think every organization would be scrambling, right? Well, they're not. A recent poll found that a staggering 95% of organizations do not see this as a high priority. Only 5% do. That is a seriously dangerous gap between the reality of this threat and how prepared people are. A big reason for this complacency is just a fundamental misunderstanding of the problem. A lot of people seem to think this is just another software patch, right? Like a simple one-click upgrade. But nothing could be further from the truth.
Some folks compare this to the Y2K bug, but honestly, that doesn't even come close. PQC migration is just exponentially more complex. Think about it. On the one hand, Y2K was a pretty straightforward problem. We had to fix a known date format in systems we mostly knew about. But on the other hand, you have PQC, which is all about retrofitting security into this massive, tangled web of an ecosystem, all while the bad guys are already making their moves.
This is probably my favorite analogy for the challenge because it just hits the nail on the head. You have to keep the entire business running, serving customers, processing transactions, securing data, while you're underneath it all, carefully swapping out its most critical security components. There's no downtime window here. The business can't just go dark for a few months while you fix everything. It has to happen live.
But here's the thing. If you're going to change those engines in mid-flight, you first need a perfect map of where every single one is. And this is where the true scale of the problem, well, it starts to become absolutely terrifying.
This is the first non-negotiable step, discovery. Before you can fix a single thing, you have to find everything. That means building a complete, exhaustive inventory of every single device, every app, every asset in your entire environment that uses cryptography. And as you're about to see, it's hiding in places you would never, ever expect.
We're not just talking about your servers and laptops. Oh no, we are talking about the smart power strip in the server rack, the sensors counting cars in the parking garage, the thermometer in the CEO's office aquarium that's connected to the network, smart forklifts, HVAC systems, badge readers. Basically, if it's smart and it touches your network, it almost certainly uses cryptography.
So how widespread is this, really? Get this. In one recent assessment of a single office building, just one building, they found over 160 distinct categories of connected smart devices, each with its own hardware, its own firmware, and often its own hard-coded cryptography that needs to be ripped out and replaced. The scale is it's mind-numbing.
Okay, so the problem is massive, it's complex, and it's incredibly urgent. It's really easy to feel overwhelmed, but there is a path forward. Let's take a look at a high-level strategy for how you can start to tackle this beast.
So you can break it down into these 4 manageable stages. It all starts with that full inventory we just talked about. You can't protect what you can't find. Next, you prioritize. You can't fix everything at once, so you have to focus on the highest risk assets first. Things protecting data that needs to stay secret for a long time, or that controls critical infrastructure. Step 3 is key, designing for something called crypto agility. And finally, you start the actual migration, phasing it in over time, starting right now. So what exactly is this crypto agility? It's a really crucial concept. It basically means you design your systems so that swapping out one encryption algorithm for another is relatively easy. You're building flexibility into the very core of your architecture. Because the truth is, cryptographic standards are going to keep evolving. You've got to be ready to pivot without tearing everything down and starting over.
And let's be realistic here. A full enterprise-wide PQC overhaul, this isn't a project you can just knock out in a couple of quarters. Based on similar transitions in the past, this is a 5 to 10-year program. It's going to require sustained effort, a dedicated budget, and buy-in from the very top. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
All right, now we come to the final and, honestly, the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. It is the reason why that 95% of organizations who aren't prioritizing this are making a potentially catastrophic mistake. The threat isn't waiting for a quantum computer to be built.
Let me be perfectly clear about this. The threat is not on the horizon. It's not coming soon. It is here. It is active, and it is happening right now, as we speak. And here's how. It's an attack strategy called Harvest Now, Decrypt Later. It is simple, and it is devastatingly effective. Adversaries are actively stealing and stockpiling massive amounts of your encrypted data today. They can't read it yet, but they don't care. They are hoarding it, just waiting for the day Q-Day arrives and they can unlock everything.
I mean, just think about what this means. Any sensitive data that's encrypted with today's algorithms, your long-term financial plans, your intellectual property, government secrets, it is already vulnerable. If that data gets stolen today, it's basically an open book in a few years. Every single day you wait to implement quantum-safe encryption is another day your most valuable secrets are being siphoned off for future decryption.
So this all brings us back to that central question. The harvest is happening now. The clock is ticking. This isn't just another IT project, it's a fundamental challenge to the long-term security and viability of your entire organization. So, are you ready?